before we get started here, there's a little foam prep we're going to have to do to get this to lay out right and look right and just be right. On your 5mm foam sheet, you want to cut a length that's about 1 centimeter wide and 4.5 centimeters long. And from there you're going to want to find a center point and cut a taper from the middle out to the 1 centimeter end and basically form a triangle. But you want to leave this butt end flat. And then once you get that done, you're going to want to cut an angle for that rear third. This will be the rear of the fly. And to do that, you just take your scissors and all in one stroke, just cut it off. So that's the foam prep for this fly, nothing too hard. And see you at the vise. Alright, so I'm going to start my thread and run from the eye all the way back to about where the barb would sit, halfway in between the barb and the point of the hook. And grab my tail, which is going to be standard green crystal flash Kelly green. I've got about 4 strands there, and I'm just going to double it over, make it 8. Tie it in. Gonna cut it about the length of the body right now, or the length of the hook shank, I should say. Grab some more crystal flash. This time a little larger clump, because we're going to be building a body out of this one. I'll tie that in. I'm going to run it up to about 1/3. If you cut the hook shank in thirds, about 1/3 of the way up. And I've found that if you kind of twist it a little bit as you wrap it, you get a little stronger body. It's just easier to maintain control. Just kind of wrap forward and back, create a little substance there. Alright, tie her off. Now we're ready for first foam section here. So what I like to do is just put a little foam safe zap-a-gap right on my thread. Drop right there. Lay this on to where the end of the foam is about halfway from the length of the tail. Make a couple wraps here. Again, put on a little bit of that foam safe zap on my thread. And give it a few more wraps. If you don't put on the zap-a-gap, the foam will tend to roll on you. Actually pretty bad, since there's just going to be 2 tie-in points. You want to make sure you get some of that zap-a-gap on there. Next step, I'm going to take some more crystal flash. Another 5 or 6 strands or whatever. Pull back my foam, tie it in, right to the foam, bring my thread up to 1/3 of the way back or 2/3 of the way forward, however I'm going to do it. I'm going to wrap the crystal flash over where I wrap the foam, just do two tight wraps over the thread, and then start making a body for the midsection here. actually gonna do a little more. I didn't want a lot of crystal flash going over the thread wraps. But I do want this body just a little thicker. So I'll take another 5, 6 strands, double it over. Tie it in. So I got 10 or 12. I don't think it really matters if your body's thick or not, but the factory fly has kind of a thicker body, so I figured we'd mimic that. Alright, tie that off. Everything kind of nice and tight here. We're going to spin the deer hair. So just standard black deer belly is the best for spinning. Deer belly anyway. And I don't have a huge clump, it's kind of a medium. We're not like spinning bass bugs here, but we do want some flotation and some leaking. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the tips and just run a comb through the hair, and you can see all that fuzz and stuff I'm getting out of there. All that fuzz does is make it want to sink as it soaks up water, and it will also really make it tough to get a really good stack, even stack out of all this. So it's important that you comb it out. Get all the fluff out of there. Some patches are worse than others. I've had patches that barely have any at all, but it's just always good to run it through. So give it a stack. Make sure we got even tips. Grab it all in one shot and pull out all the tips that are not pointy. Alright, so now we need to determine how wide we want our wings, I guess, to be. I don't even know what you call that, but whatever that makes the V in the water. So I'm going to about the length of the hook shank. I think is pretty good. Bend the foam back with my pinky, get it out of the way. Lay my deer hair out. Make 2 soft wraps. Pull down, let it spin a little bit, and as it spins I'm going to make my 3rd, and then go into all my tight wraps. And that'll just spin it around the shank real nice. Give it a pull down, make sure if you pull down on the thread and it keeps wanting to spin on you, go ahead and give it a couple more wraps. More just for good measure. Find the eye of the hook, just put your finger on there. That'll kind of spread it out. And move your thread in front of all your deer hair. Give yourself a little base here. Push it back. And now we trim. So the top deer, I'm going to trim pretty close. All these butts we want to get out of there, and on the top I'm going to go real close. And this will take a little time, so we'll speed it up so you don't have to watch me run around with this for whatever, however long it takes. Alright, now on the sides and the bottom, we're actually going to pull it back and then trim it close to the body at an angle. Show you what that looks like here once I get a clump. Alright, we're all trimmed up. I'm going to split the top of the deer hair in half, right above the hook eye. I'm going to fold my foam over the top. Just kind of get it nice and separated. A little more zap, foam safe, very important. Regular Zap-A-Gap will melt your foam and you will end up with an undesired result. So I got one wrap with the glue on there. Pull the foam over. Come back, pull back the deer hair. 1, 2, 3. Each wrap gets a little tighter. A little more Zap-A-Gap here. It may be excessive, but I just want to make sure this isn't going to roll. Alright, so about 7 more wraps. And you can see this is not rolling around at all. The whole hook shank actually moves around when I move this. So real quick, we're going to finish her off, at least the thread part, so I can tie it off. A few strands of crystal flash. Fold it over. Now this is where it gets a little tight. Actually, there's an easier way to do this. Just get 3 strands. Make it long, put it in the middle. Maybe it's an easier way to do this. Captured, pull them all back, wrap it all the way to the foam, wrap it over where you put your thread wraps on the foam, twist it, a couple more wraps to the head, one more wrap to the head, whatever it takes. Off with finish. Clip the thread, clip the crystal flash, and I'm going to flip over the fly. Get my deer hair all back to where it was. On the eye, just a little clip straight underneath. That'll ensure that it rides properly. Alright, now I'm going to cut my head down a little bit here. Okay, and I'm going to cut an angle on the bottom of my foam to give it a lip up, so as it hits current it pushes up against the current to keep the fly high. On the factory fly they kind of round the edges on the foam. You can do that if you want. Just kind of take your little angle, round it. You don't have to, it makes it look a little cleaner. There you have the finished fly. Add a little head cement and you've got